Earlier this week, Bloomberg auto columnist Jason Harper was on Taking Stock discussing the Porsche 911. Now he went pricier and he went riskier, driving a $300,000 car on the ice. Sounds crazy, but he did it. Jason was lucky enough to get behind the wheel of Aston Martin's newest luxury car. Is this a thing, like driving hot cars on ice? That seems very strange to me.
It is a thing. Basically, all the luxury car manufacturers put on winter driving experiences because sports cars, expensive sports cars, are toys. And what do we want to do? We want to play with those toys,
so
right?
It's like a rich boy's amusement park?
It totally is, you know, because the thing is, these cars you can't drive fast, you know, on the freeway. You've got, you know, there are cops that are going to stop you. So the manufacturers go about doing things that give you experiences. And this is a winter driving experience that Aston Martin does. Porsche does them, Ferrari does them. I did this in Colorado. Essentially, they set up a 1-mile ice track in a field. And you get to spin and slide and do these silly things in $200,000 to $300,000 cars.
That's insane. And this is the first time that Aston Martin did this, right? I mean, what were they trying to prove by doing this?
You know what? They're such pretty cars, and they're rear-wheel drive cars. They're not cars you think about taking out in the winter doing these crazy things we're looking at right here. And I assure you, if you hit those ledges right there, the sides of those...
oh, look at that spin, yeah.
Yeah, they're just going to hurt that car. It will crush that car. Now, the days I was out there, which was last month, no cars were harmed. You know, there was nothing crushed, which is a good thing. But it's essentially an idea that, look, these are real sports cars. They're beautiful cars. You know, when you're spending that much on a car, you think, it's $300,000. Could I go out and really do crazy things with it? Well, ostensibly, you know, you can.
What wowed you? I mean, you're a car guy, right?
I'm a car
guy.
Did
anything kind of knock you off your seat?
Well, it is fun because they brought out their entire line of cars, and Aston Martin has about 4 or 5 different models these days. But they're all essentially sort of the same. They're not all-wheel drive. They're not cars that you think of being out in the weather, you know. So they did incredibly well on sliding around on ice. They are true blue sports cars, despite being so pretty. You know, Aston Martins are famous for their sort of 007 James Bond connection. Sure. But you look at it and you think, oh, that's such a pretty car. I wouldn't want to go out and, you know, really use and abuse it. But at its heart, they are still sports cars.
So you tried all the different models that they were offering. Was there one model that sort of nailed it better?
Well, you know, it's funny. They do have like a 4-door.
We'll talk about the different models first, actually.
You know, there's a Rapide, which is a 4-door. There's the Vanquish, which is their top line, very much sports car. And then my favorite actually is a Vantage, which is their smallest, lightest car. They put a V12 in. And that was kind of like the pure athlete out there on the ice. You could do these beautiful drifts and spins and feel like, you know, you were playing in the movie. Essentially, it's a place where you get to do, it's a playground to play with these cars and do things that you shouldn't be allowed to do, but because you're not on a real road, you can.
It's the rich boy playground.
It's rich boy playground.
But what about any sort of criticism? I mean, obviously you were saying that it's not all 4-wheel drive, right? So where would you sort of improve?
Yeah, I mean, if you would buy one of these cars, you could drive in winter, but you need to put snow tires on it. These cars are not actually made for, you know, do this crazy stuff in winter. You need to put snow tires on them. And, you know, when you are playing with $300,000 cars like this, sometimes things break. You know, Aston Martins have some catching up to do with some technology. But they're beautiful, fun cars, and get to do experience like this in Colorado. They'll do it again next year, and if you want to ante up about $5,000, you can do it yourself.
Well, I probably have to get my
driver's license.
Well, I have a learner's permit, which is huge. It took me like 20 years to get it, and I'm going to have to get my driver's license. So maybe if I can get it in time.
You got like 11 months, a good 11, 12 months. We could go out and do this together.
Actually, my husband would be so excited if I actually was motivated to do that.
Well, that would be more fun than driving in New York City.
Well, how is attendance actually?
I was with some other journalists, and they also invited dealers, and they invited prospective customers. It's a way to entice, you know, guys to go in and spend those $300,000 too. It's sort of a luxury experience. Come out, you know. This was in Crested Butte, great skiing nearby. So, you know, most of the customers came out, did this for a couple days, and then went skiing with their mates. That kind of thing.
You know, in your article on Bloomberg News, it was really interesting because you mentioned you drove up in one of the cars in the valet. Said, yeah, is it a real sports car? I mean, it looks kind of prissy. And I was really taken by that comment. I was wondering if this changed your view.
Yeah, you know, it reminded me that it is a really hard... Aston Martin has a motorsports history. They do race cars. They currently race in things like 24 Hours in Nürburgring, which are really serious, crazy endurance races. But I had a convertible, a $300-something thousand convertible in LA just a couple weeks earlier, and the valet said, oh, you know, it's so pretty, but I don't think I would take it you know, it doesn't seem like a real sports car to me. And I said, you know, if that guy, that valet, had been out there seeing us going sideways, it would have changed his mind.
So it did change your opinion of the brand. I mean, this was actually kind of a game changer
I drive them, so I know, but
bit.
it certainly reminded me, it was fun to see them willing to get their cars beat up a little bit. You know, there's not that many, they don't make a million of these cars.
So funny. I would never think like an Aston Martin Prissy. I mean, you know, James Bond really gets into it, so.
Well, and that is what's a smart brand affiliation for,
right,
for Aston Martin. They're not silly people. They know what they're doing.
All right, next time. We'll go. We'll check it out.
Come on, play.
And I'll skid all around the road. Thank you so much, Jason Harper. Really
Thanks, Alix.
appreciate it, Bloomberg Auto columnist.